Good morning. It is Tuesday, October 12th, and we're in the Express studio at the Community Media Center, and it's my pleasure to be, I'm Jim Mayola, it's my pleasure to be interviewing Herb Sell, the infamous Herb Sell from Westminster High School. Well, Herb, tell me a little bit about yourself. Let's start right at the beginning. Let's start with when and where were you born? We're going to go back to the beginning.
Well, I was born June 8th, 1929, in Littlestown, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And at that time, I wasn't born in the hospital. I was born in mother's bedroom.
Right.
And probably didn't cost very much.
I bet. You probably made a lot of noise, though, when you came into the world.
Well, probably so.
Yeah, I bet you did. So you grew up in Littlestown, Pennsylvania, which is where you live now.
Yes.
Yeah. So you haven't strayed far from home. Yeah.
If you want to know when I started taking piano lessons, it was, or did you want to get into something?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
Well, when I was 7 years old, first of all, my father only went to 5th grade, and then he had to go work on a farm, like they did sometimes in those days if he didn't have much money, and he had to give his money then to his parents. And then, of course, I can remember saying many times he would never do that to his children, and of course he didn't. But my mother, she went to 8th grade, and she went 2 years because if she'd gone to high school, she would have had to walk about 3 miles or so. And of course, in those days, everybody walked, and she just didn't want to walk those 3 miles to go to school anymore. She walked enough to get to the country school, and so she went 2 years. So she was old enough, I guess, that she didn't have to go to school anymore. But they were very talented and people, and I'm sure if they would have gone to school, especially my father, I think he could have been a lawyer. He was just, and they often say, why can't Johnny read? Well, I often think my father didn't even get through 5th grade, and he became a businessman, and he read the paper from one end to the other. And but anyway, somewhere along the line, he became a trombone player. And I never could figure out how he was able to get interested in playing the trombone. Now, he must have started taking lessons or when he was maybe 12 or something, and wanted to be part of the group, of a group. And I did hear years later that some people that knew him said he was quite a good trombone player. And my mother, she took piano for about evidently just 3 years, and she could play very well, evidently. And of course, in those days, when my dad and her recording, it was, "Let me call you sweetheart," she entertained on the piano. That's what they did in those days.
Right.
She had a song, I remember, when I was growing up, it was called Niagara Falls, and she rippled down all over the keys, and that's what it sounded like. But, of course, as years went by, she slowly didn't play the piano, and I don't think she could play a note as she got older. She was 97 when she died, and evidently that's what's keeping me going. But anyway, they used to come back. My dad played in the town band. He played in a lot of bands in Hanover. And the town band was directed by George Booty. And of course, I can remember in the late 30s, or in the 30s, when I was growing up, how the band would always play about the first block from the square in they would block off one of the alleys or roads there, and that's where the band would play every Saturday night. I'd hear them talk about banana auctions and things, and of course Littlestown was really swinging in those days. And one of the, they never played many popular songs. There was always marches, but one of the popular songs I remember they played was Little Old Lady, which was by Hoagy Carmichael. And that must have been a very popular song in the late 37 or 36, something like this. And but anyway, my uncle, who lived beside of us, we lived, my father, when they got married, he built this house on Patrick Avenue, which was right back of St. Paul's Church. And then his brother built a house right beside him, a little smaller. And of course, before my dad built a house, my grandfather had moved back there, and he had built his house. So we were only three on the street, and back of us there was nothing but fields in those days. And I can remember as a little boy watching the WPA gangs and their great big old steamrollers going so slow, and they were making roads. And but there, at that time when I lived there was no one around, so I had a boy who lived catty-cornered up the field from me, and we used to roll tires and things like that, you know. And then every summer there would be a medicine show. There was a vacant field right where we lived. My dad had, of course, a store that he had built. He was one of the first paper hangers in Littlestown to do it as a profession there. And this was around 1927 when they got married. But this medicine show would come in, Doc Texworth show, and of course I'd always get a kick out of watching that for years. And then in the evening, all the people would come there and they'd sell candy. I don't know how much it was, 10 cents or 15 cents, and in one of the boxes would be a watch, they'd always say. Of course, no one ever got a watch, I don't think, but I can remember how he handled snakes and things. So that's my childhood, some of my childhood experiences. But
tell me a little bit more about the medicine show. They would handle snakes at that?
Well, yeah, that was the big thing, you know. You get these snakes out, you know.
And the idea was to...
Then they had some hoochie-coochie girls.
Okay.
You know, yeah. But it was all in a good time, and they'd sell things, candy, and people would hope they'd find a prize. But that's another day and age now.
Yeah.
And but that went on for years.
Where did you go to school, Herb?
Well, first of all, I ought to say about what happened there with the band. My uncle played the trumpet. And for some reason or other, in the late 70s, or 30s, the late 30s, they must have started practicing in my mother's living room. And they were trying to get a dance band together, I guess. Things were changing, you know, and Benny Goodman and all this and that. But I don't think they ever got anywhere. I can just remember they would come in there and they would play, several guys, and but I liked this trumpet, so I thought I wanted to play the trumpet too. My dad played the trombone, but I thought that was awful big, you know. So they said okay, so they went to George Booty, and who at that time was one of the cigar makers. You know, every town had a lot of cigars. Shops, and they would employ 10, 12, 14 people, and they'd roll these cigars, and all this tobacco. And of course, he had one back of his home. Of course, his daughter was Marie Booty, who the Shepherds, the way I understand, she was a very good singer, and the Shepherds sent her to New York and sponsored her, and she did get into big-time opera. She had a teacher up there, and if you go to Gettysburg to the Historical Society, you'll find that they have a whole sort of great big picture of the things, the operas she was in. And of course she changed her name to Marie Budde before she went to New York. When she came back from New York, well, what happened was the Depression came, 1929.
Right. Okay.
And of course people didn't have money to go see operas. That was the first thing that would go, naturally, especially if they're selling apples on the streets. And she had to come back home, but she came back as Marie Budde. So after she changed her name, you know, it was always, to me, it was a great story. Budde, and then finally Budde. And, well, George Budde said, he says, "You're just a little young, 7 years old. You shouldn't be playing the trumpet." He says, "You know, why don't you maybe start with the piano, and then you can play the trumpet later on." So that's what I did, and I started taking piano lessons when I was 7. But I'm like most kids, I guess I didn't care too much about it, but my mother was a piano player, and she'd always say, when it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon, didn't matter what I was doing, playing with the friends or anybody, it's 3 o'clock, it's time to practice. I don't think they do that today. At 3 o'clock they're playing games. So I think today, after my experience of giving piano lessons, I gave a lot of them, and I had some very fine students, but I took notice 10, 15 years ago that things were changing. And even I was very fortunate through high school. I always had some very fine pianists. And it seemed like when a senior graduated, there was always somebody there who was just as good, or maybe better even, to take over. And before I retired, I sometimes had to play the piano myself, like music teachers today. And I find that so often today, they even go out and get a professional to come in and play for the kids.
Right.
And that's fine after you teach them how to sing songs and get the blend and everything you want. The next thing is trying to develop a student to be able to play like you were playing to teach them.
Right.
And so that takes patience and time. And of course, what I'm on at, to be a good teacher, you have to have patience. If you don't have patience, then you can't be a teacher, you know. Well, getting back to my 7-year-old piano lessons, my mother would keep after me, and I suppose we played a duet or two at church. But finally, when I was in 5th grade, that was when you could first start taking instrumental lessons. So I decided I was going to play the trumpet. And I played the trumpet long enough to play the scales and everything. And then finally, I think the band director, who was Paul Horner, quite famous, he wrote a march called President Washington, which was performed by the Colonel Howard and the United States Air Force Band. So he loved marches. By the way, in parades, he was often a judge. And if you wanted to get up there, you better play a John Philip Sousa march when you passed his stand. Well, today, that would be funny. They don't play John Philip Sousa marches anymore. But anyway, he must have suggested that they needed trombone players, and he must have known that my dad had a trombone. Big Bell.
Yeah.
Kahn, which was the big name for trombones.
Yep.
So I started on the trombone. I never practiced on the trombone like I did the piano, but I would go and we'd have these sectional rehearsals. And when I graduated, I remember he put me on one side and a better trombone player was on the other side. We were supposed to be the two best, but we were seniors. We played Lazarus trombone.
Ooh.
That's the one that goes
Mhm.
boom, 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 boom,
Yep.
da 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 da. And I could do this real good. Boom.
Yep.
I think the other trombone player was just a little more good at the intricate stuff,
Yeah.
you know. And so that was my trombone career. I can talk about that later. But anyway, I was taking lessons, and when I was about 12 years old, I entered a contest. And I was only 12, and my music teacher still had me playing marches and classical music, which I didn't care too much for.
Mm-hmm.
But I was always glad that she did have me play all these marches because it helped me in playing ragtime later on, which I still play occasionally. I love to play.
Sure.
Like 12th Street Rag, and Scott Joplin's, I forget the name of it, from the Sting.
Mhm. Entertainer.
But I like to play some ragtime songs and
Yeah.
keep them up.
Sure.
But anyway, I won this contest, but not so much. When you're a piano player in a contest, you better be pretty good, because if you don't have any gimmicks, a baton twirler is going to probably do better than a piano player. So anyway, there was a little girl came out. She must have been about 8, 9 years old, but cute as a pistol. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember there was a song that was real popular back in the 30s, around, it's been about, let's see, 39, 40, something like that, 1940, 41. And she sang a song called The Wise Old Owl.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she had one of these young little voices like they do, so she could really belt that Wise Old Owl out. Well, I played my Repast Band March, and of course my music teacher said, if anything happens, keep going. Don't stop just because you made a mistake. Well, this song, this Repast Band March came from the early 1900s, and of course it was in pretty bad shape and tatters. When I turned the page, it was hard then for the music to stay on the piano. So
Right.
I turned the page, and of course, it wasn't long that music fell down on my knee, and I played it so much that I did have it sort of memorized. I kept, well, no, first it fell on my hands. That's the way it was. And I kept on going. I shook it off, and then it went on the floor.
Right.
Well, the people started laughing. I kept on playing, you know. And the little girl who sang The Wise Old Owl got the first prize, $10.
Mm-hmm.
But Herbie got the second prize, $7.
Good.
And I always figured that if I wouldn't have had the gimmick of that music falling on the floor, I'd just been a piano player probably.
Right. Yeah.
But I often think, and I play that sometimes when I'm giving a concert and showing where I started, you know. I often think of all the piano lessons I gave, it never got anybody to play the Repast Band March. And I can't believe that I played that when I was only 10 or 12. I forget what I was, 12 years old, no more than that. So I got a little notoriety out of that, and so I was always on demand at the Ladies' Aid Society.
Sure.
And but finally, when I was 13, I think I was, I got pneumonia. It was around 42 or something like that. And I found out I had a little radio, and I was in bed for about 4 weeks. You know, it took a long time to get over something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think what saved me was, well, at that time, they would have a bag of warm onions, and they'd put your feet in these onions, and that was supposed to pull out the fever. See,
Yeah.
if your fever didn't break,
Okay.
you're in bad way.
Right.
But sulfa drugs had come in just right, you know, right before World War II or
Mhm.
around that time. And the doctor said, well, he didn't think it was so much the onions. He thought it was his sulfa drug. I guess he was probably right.
Yeah.
But I was listening to the radio, and I started hearing all these bands, you know, for the first time, and I realized that there was some pretty good music out there besides marches I was playing,
Right.
you know. And the Elks Parade I used to play.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in 8th grade, I guess, when this happened, and of course, when I got well, they started having air raid drills, and of course, these kids would all have to come out and line up against the wall. I don't know what would have happened if a bomb would have hit the building. I don't know what good it would have been in doing up against the walls. But they would roll the piano out, and Herbie would have to entertain. And so I would play 10, 15 minutes, all
Yeah.
my marches and
Yeah.
everything.
Right.
I think I did know Elmer's tune
Mm-hmm.
and a few things like that.
Yeah.
So one day, about right before I was supposed to go to high school, Marie Boudet had a relative who was from Baltimore, and I came in to take my lesson. I heard this boy playing the piano, you know, and I said to him, I said, what in the world is that? He said, well, that's Boogie Woogie.
Mm-hmm.
Boogie Woogie. I said, boy, I'd like to play that, you know. Well, I started investigating about Boogie Woogie, and I found a few books and everything, and
Mm-hmm.
Lord, it just came natural to me.
Sure.
Because not everybody can play Boogie Woogie.
Right.
The left hand has to do its thing,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't think about it.
Right.
If you do, you're not going to be able to play it.
Yeah.
So it's like it's moving all the time, and then
It's
your ideas are up here in the right hand.
Independent, yeah.
You know. So it came natural, and nobody could do it in my town, at least, and not many other towns. And so I started playing Boogie Woogie, and of course that was the end of my music teacher. She didn't like Boogie Woogie, and so I stopped taking lessons around, I guess, the end of the summer before I went into high school,
Mm-hmm.
and I never took any more lessons until I went to Western Maryland or McDaniel.
Mhm.
So it was almost like 10 years later when I was starting to get my first lessons from Dr. Hagemeyer.
Right.
But anyway, I practiced, and I didn't go over very well in school. The kids seemed to like what I was doing, but I must have agitated the teachers very much. And I played everything in Boogie Woogie. Stardust, Milkman, Keep Those Bottles Flying, and all kinds of songs. And, of course, I had a few teachers. I think my music teacher said I had a one-track mind. Well, that hit sort of hard. And so I was determined I would try to do something about this. So I did teach myself to play Clair de Lune.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to do a Mozart number. I entered about 3-4 counties. I forget what that district
Mm-hmm.
or something. And I entered as a piano player, and I was surprised. There were about 7 other girls. I was one of the few boys playing, but I think my Clair de Lune and Mozart did come in. It was either second or third,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't believe that I impressed them that much. because I did it myself.
Sure.
Then I was determined I would play Rhapsody in Blue.
Mm-hmm.
I had heard that, and I thought, what a wonderful song. So I taught myself to play that, and I played and played. And, of course, I decided I would play it in school to impress my teachers. Well, they had me play in this assembly, and it took me about 30 minutes to get through it.
Sure.
Which you're supposed to do it in 15
yeah.
minutes.
Yeah.
It could have been 30 or 35 minutes. Well, I didn't receive very good comments from that performance. I now have it down to 1 minute and 15 seconds. I've decided how I can do it from beginning and get everything that I want to, and I won't bore anybody. But at that time, there were places I just couldn't play fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
But I was determined would do that, and I often tell that story. But so when I graduated, of course I didn't get any music honors, you know. And when I graduated, I asked my principal if he thought I could go to college, because I just realized I had the academic course, but not too good. My grades weren't too well, too good. And I realized all of a sudden all my girlfriends, my boys that I knew were leaving town, and there I was in town, and I was going to be stuck.
Sure.
And well, his answer was he didn't think so. So I decided, well, first of all through my high school career, I worked at a drugstore, and at that time, it was the only drugstore in town, and at that time you worked till 11:30. You started sweeping the floors at 11,
Sure.
and you're done at 11:30, and then I would go home, and I would listen to the radio, because that's every half an hour a new band would come on. Tommy Dorsey, Count Basie,
Sure.
Duke Ellington, all these famous bands, Artie Shaw. Well, it would be, I kept a diary one year, and I didn't go to bed any time until probably 1 o'clock, 12:30, 1 o'clock at least.
Wow.
So it's no wonder my studies weren't too good.
Mm-hmm.
And what really turned me on, I loved the Boogie Woogie, but it turned me on, I saw Count Basie in a little short when I was about 14 at the movies, and I could see him playing that white piano and pointing to the band, and oh boy, I thought, that's what I got to do. I've got to try to be a band director, you know, play the piano. So I started playing like Count Basie. I studied his style, and there were a couple of folios at that time on his music, and I got his style down, and a lot of other boogie woogie songs. And so I started. Someone suggested they wanted me to play in Hanover during the war days. My dad was drafted into the service in I guess it was 44, yeah. They were getting ready for the invasion. They were taking everybody.
Right.
And, of course, my dad was 37 and a half, which was pretty old to be drafted. And plus, there were 3 kids in our family.
Wow.
I had 2 sisters. So, anyway, they had come down and asked if I'd like to work in a drugstore. That's how I got in the drugstore when I was about 14. I worked there until I got out of high school. And it was a great experience. One of the great experiences was when Woody Herman came in and sit down in front of me, and he had I guess his manager was with him or something, and he wanted a milkshake. And I almost died because I knew who it was, but all these other teenage girls running around there, they didn't realize here's Woody Herman sitting next beside him, you know, at the soda fountain.
What did
Well,
you
I
do?
didn't say anything. I
Oh
was
my goodness!
flabbergasted. I knew that's who it had to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't say anything until he was ready to leave, and
Yeah.
I said, "Aren't you Woody Herman?" He says, "That's right." And out he went.
Yeah. Oh my.
He stopped there and got a cigarette lighter
Yeah.
over at the jewelry store. But
Woody Herman in Littlestown.
yeah,
Wow.
my soda fountain.
Yeah.
They were going to Harrisburg, I guess. But I'd seen his pictures enough to know who it was.
And you ended up getting him to come back, didn't you?
What's that?
Did he ever come to Westminster High School?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it was 74.
Did you tell him the story?
Oh, I told him that
Yeah.
story.
Amazing.
Yeah. And,
So your dad ended up getting drafted.
yeah,
Yeah.
and of course I was in the drugstore at the time, and of course one of the things that happened was I had an uncle and an aunt in Baltimore, and they felt sorry for me, and they wanted me to go, if I would go to Atlantic City
Mm-hmm.
with them. Oh boy! And so they took me down there, and it was so clean at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember our hotel room was $2.50. Of course, that was pretty fancy at the time. And bellhop there to take us up just a floor or two.
Mm-hmm.
and you always gave the bellhop, you gave him a dime.
Mm-hmm.
So I would do that. And then when you come down, you give him a dime again.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got on Steel Pier and Hammond's Pier at that time. They had both of them going,
Yeah.
and they were named big bands on them. One time they had two bands, two name bands at one time. But I saw, Harry James and Claude Thornhill, oh boy, on the piano. I thought that was something. And of course, at that time they didn't have amplification.
Right.
And when he
Oh,
played
yeah.
that piano up
Sure.
the stage, Snowfall, and everything, you could barely hear it,
Mhm.
with that orchestra.
Yeah.
And but I saw a lot of. There used to be a band there so many times ago. Now it was always Johnny Long, and they were famous for Shantytown.
Mm-hmm.
They sang it, and of course he always had a violin tucked under his arm, and that, to me that was not my cup of tea
Yeah.
to see a band director with a violin.
Right.
But he never played it.
Yeah.
He just hold it,
Yeah.
But he was a nice guy, really, really good band leader, and quite popular and good for dancing.
Mm-hmm.
So then, when I came back, I decided I got that sand on my feet, and my mother and Dad let me go down there every year
No kidding.
by myself.
Yeah.
And I get on the bus and and get on the bus, and I have this big old suitcase they had up in the attic, and I get on. I remember the bus driver say, "Are you a musician?" No, I'm just going down to Atlantic City. And so I go down there, and I would watch all those band directors. In fact, Bob Kersey was in a band at that time. His name was Alex Bartha, and he was like the house band
Mm-hmm.
on the Steel Pier.
Right.
And of course, Bob Kersey used to talk to me about how he played with Alex Bartha. Of course, Bob was from Atlantic City area, and I said, well, I said, I used to stand there and I'd ask the piano player, do you know any boogie woogie songs? And I said, I bet you were probably playing trumpet in Alex Bartha's band at that time. That was really, he probably was.
Probably was.
And so that's what kept me going.
Mhm.
And but I still played boogie woogie. I made a couple recordings down there. I played Hamp's Boogie in 1945. I can't even do it now, but it had a change of key of 3 different keys till you got to the end of it. But it was
Wow.
a very difficult song. But Hamp's Boogie was really a powerful song,
Mm-hmm.
and I could play that. One of my first boogie woogie songs was the one that Tommy Dorsey played, which actually was written by Pinetop Smith back in 1929
Mm-hmm.
when I was born
Yeah.
and recorded. And of course, he was killed accidentally 6 months after he recorded that song. I often thought what those royalties would have brought him. He would have been a millionaire
Mm-hmm.
on that one song.
Mm-hmm.
But he probably got nothing and then
Well.
killed accidentally, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that was my first boogie woogie song, and then as I was talking, they wanted me to play over Frederick radio station, which that's before they had the radio station in Hanover. You had to go to Gobrecht's store where they sold radios and things,
Mhm.
and upstairs they had this room where they broadcast from.
Mm-hmm.
And every Saturday morning they would broadcast from 11 to 12 o'clock all the news and
Right.
advertisements and things
Sure.
from Hanover. So they knew I could play boogie woogie, and I was pretty sharp at that time, and I was just a kid, you know,
Yeah.
16. I'd go down on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way you could get there. I couldn't even drive. I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Half the time I'd have to walk from the square and go down about 2 blocks and run, and I'd get there about 5 minutes late. Of course, when I'd open the door, they'd say, "Here's the Boogie Woogie King." You know,
Wow.
I come in and I always played one Boogie Woogie song every Saturday morning, but the rest of them were the South Mountain Rangers and the Hawaiian Sharps.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I never liked, I didn't care for that hillbilly music.
Yeah.
but I got to hear it anyway.
Yeah.
They'd play, you know, but at that time it was Coming Around the Mountains, you know,
Oh, yeah.
and things like that. Just
Mhm.
ordinary country songs.
Yep.
But I never played with them. But then I'd get up in the piano and I'd play my boogie woogie.
Yeah.
Then I'd be done.
Right.
So those were experiences. Well, so when I got out of school, I did not know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a couple letters out west to territory bands, and sometimes I'd get they need a piano player, and I'd get a telegram, but then I was scared.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't, you know, I wanted to do this, but
Yeah.
I didn't want to go out on my own.
Right.
So I was hanging wallpaper for 2 years
Mm-hmm.
with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I was still playing probably 2-3 nights a week somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I first started playing, a couple guys come and got me about when I was 15, and I started playing Gettysburg at Moose Clubs and things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in school, you know. And the first time I played, I can remember I got $5 for the night. That was usually the pay at that time.
Yeah.
And then it slowly went up to 10, and stayed 10 for a long time, and 12.
Yeah.
Finally got to 17. But anyway, I was doing that besides getting $20 a week for hanging paper with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was making as much playing as I was working all week.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was pretty good. But that was small towns at that time, how they paid and things. Most women, I remember, they worked all week at sewing factories and got paid $15, $20 a week.
Yep.
And so after 2 years with my dad, he knew I was not very happy. So he said I was talking to the principal. Won't mention any names.
Yeah.
And he thinks that you could go down to Westchester and take the examination to get into college.
Mm-hmm.
He can arrange that. So the time came. I don't know what day it was, but anyway, I went down. I I did practice a couple scales, and fortunately, the scale they wanted me to play was in the key of D, and that's the one I knew. I thought, how could I be so lucky? Well, I did okay. I got 97% of my music,
Yeah.
but my math and my English was not too good.
Right.
So I didn't get there.
Mhm.
Well, about 2 weeks later, my dad said, he says, you can take that test again. I said, okay. So I thought, well, I don't know what's going to be any difference. I went down, and the same thing happened again, you know. I didn't know what to prepare for or
Right.
anything else. So I thought, well, that's the end of that. And then all of a sudden, in a couple of weeks, I got a chance to go to Shippensburg University to take this test. And I thought, well, what's the difference going to be when I go up there?
Sure.
Well, I went up there, and of course, when I came back, why, they're going to put me in probation.
Oh, okay.
And I thought, holy smokes, what did I do? Well, they needed a piano player up there for the dance band, and
Sure.
they knew I existed.
Yeah.
And my friends and everybody, and the influence, and with the music teacher and everything. So that's how I got started.
Mm-hmm.
Then they said, well, I wasn't a music school, but that's where I had to start.
Mm-hmm.
They said, now, if you pass, we're going to send you to Indiana University,
Okay.
which is Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
I forget, but the movie star, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
famous movie star. Well,
That's not a
yeah, well,
okay.
anything can happen.
Yeah, that's right.
So anyway, I played that year with this band, and we made some local recordings, and we played in a lot of concerts. And at the end of the year, the band director, when he had I was playing trombone up there, by the way,
Oh, okay.
in the band.
Yeah.
And then they let Herb come out and do artistry and rhythm
Wow.
by Stan Kenton,
Yeah.
and so I was one of the shows, you know, and so that went over pretty good. And I had a friend or two from Indiana. They said, Herb, they said, we've heard through the grapevine that you've been accepted at Indiana and you've got it made. You're one of the few
Mm-hmm.
coming up here. So then I had to go to the hospital, and I was in the hospital over June the 25th, and I was feeling pretty good, but I had a cyst on my spine, and I had to get that operated on. Of course, at that time, I was serious too,
Mm-hmm.
because if I remember correctly, I was in the hospital over a week at least, and you couldn't move. Yeah,
Right.
You know, laying your back.
Sure.
Of course, the nurses sort of liked me, and when I got that I could get up, they'd take me to a piano. But it was funny at that time. They would smuggle beer into me.
Oh,
you
no.
know, and you could smoke, you know,
Yeah,
your ashtray. Those were the days.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I got over that. But while I'm in there, the Korean War started,
Right.
and I couldn't believe it. You know, I thought, well, my dad always told me every 20 years there's a war,
Mm-hmm.
which is about right.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, now, but only World War II is just over 1945, and
Yeah.
this is only 1950.
Yeah.
So the war started in 25th, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought, now I thought, well, I guess that's just the way the world is. It's just meant to be that way. There's going to be a war every 5, 10 years or so. That's about the way it is now, isn't it?
Yeah.
So when I got out, I had my forms and everything to go to Indiana, and then I heard that if you weren't in the top 50 of your class, you're going to get drafted.
Wow.
Well, since I had all C's, I did have one D because I couldn't swim, and I can't swim today.
Yeah.
But everything else, I had my B's, a couple
Right.
of B's, and all the rest were C's. But
Yeah.
I thought, well, and this D, I thought, well, that's not going to get me into, I'm not going to stay up at Indiana very long. They're going to draft me.
Right.
So I went down. Someone said, a friend of mine from Hanover said, well, why don't you go to Washington, D.C., go down there and audition at Boeing Air Force Base where Colonel Howard was, and he had his dance band leaders and things there, and I said, okay. So a friend of mine, he said, well, I'm going to go down there too. So he took his trombone. Let you know, in schools you don't learn anything. Not really. I mean, they're all marching around and parading.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
after, let's face it, when the seniors are out, that's the last they probably even look at their horn.
Yeah.
And they all play the same notes. I mean, the same thing, same songs.
Yeah.
So when I played the trombone in school, everything was usually written in the key, for me, E flat or B flat, and occasionally F, and that was difficult because I really, the only scale I could ever play in trombone was B flat.
Right.
So I took this trombone along down to Washington, and my friend did too. And he wasn't even better than I was, you know. So what did they do? They brought out a composition with 3 sharps.
Oh.
Oh, Lord, I couldn't even play in 1 sharp, plus even the key of C.
Yeah.
Because I had my positions all
Right.
memorized for E flat.
Sure.
You know. Well, I burped around a little, and he burped too. And I don't know what they thought. But that was the end of the trombone playing. And, well, I said I could play the piano. So I got over and I played the piano. And at that time, I was up on the stuff. I was playing a little bebop. And, I did my artistry and rhythm probably. And, well, he was impressed. Signed me up. I said, okay, we're going to take you. You'll be in a dance band. I thought, well, that's pretty good. So there were so many guys enlisted in the Air Force at that time that they really didn't even hardly have any room to put them at Lackland Air Force Base, and most of them were out on the field in tents,
Right.
which
Wow.
was fine until it started getting a little cool. But I was lucky to be in a barracks, and so they had so many that you could even you were only there I was only there for a month. I never fired the rifle, I must say. I never was in the gas chamber.
Yeah.
One night they just came out and named all these names where you're going and everything. And they read out Herb, Sal, Special Service Department, or Special Services. I said, what in the world is that? Well, that sounds like the thing to be going into. And there were 4 other piano players, 4 or 5 other ones like me from New York and around, and they all going the same place. Well, what they did was send us to a school. They sent us to a special service school. And of course, to graduate from there, you had to be in a soldier show. But anyway, I had I thought I bumped into this guy when I first went to service, but anyway, he must have left when I got there. But he could play the piano pretty good. Well, they all could play the piano good. So we got special service department, and of course they had music departments. They had everything,
Mm-hmm.
you know, library, soldier shows. But you didn't know what was going to happen after you left the school.
Right.
So the head of the department, music department, was a musicologist who had several doctorate degrees, married 7 times, wrote for Esquire, Jazz Magazine. Of course, I always wanted to be in the big time somehow. And, well, about 2 days before I was supposed to leave and go to New York to another air base, the musicologist, I got word Dr. Mize wants to see you over at the PX, I guess, drinking a beer over there. And the band director was over there too. He was can't think of the title now, but anyway, so I went over there. They said, the piano player we have right now is not very happy. Well, in this outfit, they did a lot of drinking, partying, and it was just different. I mean, you're at soldier shows, and I mean, all kinds of people, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, we like you, and would you come back if we can arrange this? I said, well, I sure would. Well, sure. Mm-hmm. And, well, so I went to New York, and I don't know where I was going to get shipped to. I don't know. I think they were going to ship me to, it's higher in Bangor, Maine. It's the tip top of Maine. Mm-hmm. I can't think of it. So I thought, boy, oh boy, my clothing was up there, and I came back, and for the holidays, and I had to leave on the 2nd of January, and Lord, here I get the telegram came. It says, report to Fort Lee, Virginia, immediately. I thought, oh boy, I'm going back to school, because that's where it was.
Right.
In those days, it was Army and Air Force together, and I was in the Air Force, but from then on, I was on detached service with the Army.
Okay.
There were only about 4, I think I made 4 or 5 at the most Air Force guys. That's all there ever was at this school, and everybody else was Army.
Wow.
But for some reason, the piano player had to be Air Force,
Mm-hmm.
and the singer, who I became very close friends with, was from New York. He was an opera singer, and the singer had to be from the Army, and it was crazy, you know. But I was the only Air Force guy in the music department. And so I went back there, and I got I'm talking off the cuff now, but the boy who went to the tip top of Maine wrote me a letter, and I often wish I would have kept it. And he says, Dear Herb, he says, I think I made a mistake. He says, there are only 7 airplanes up here and no piano. It was the sorriest letter I ever read.
Oh.
But where I was, they had about 12 pianos. And I, so I was connected with about, altogether, something like 14 or 15 Army shows at that time, because they had that's what they had to do. One summer, the whole New York National Guard came down, and I wish I would have kept their names, because some of them really became famous.
Right.
I mean, I saw them build things out of paper mache you wouldn't believe. I mean, just wires and paper mache, Statue of Liberty, and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I mean, very talented. And so I had great experience. And one of the big experiences was the band that I played with was an all-black band.
Mm-hmm.
And the the band director, a warrant officer, that's what he was. He was white, and of course I was the pianist.
Mm-hmm.
And of course I became good friends of the musicians naturally, and at that time things were sort of segregated, and I go downtown and they'd introduce me to all the black clubs,
Mm-hmm.
and of course the managers or the owners would say, well, if you're his friend, you're welcome here anytime.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent almost a whole year in those clubs, and it was a great experience because of the music I liked, jazz, blues, and
Yeah.
everything. And it was really quite an experience.
Yeah.
And but anyway, I was able to keep up all my music because that's what I was worried about.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, if I get drafted and I can't, and I get into something that I can't play anymore,
Right.
what's going to happen to me? You know?
Right.
And so it all worked out. So when I got married in 1952, and of course the Korean War was coming to an end, and they were really closing down the school because they didn't need that. See, at one time, they really thought China was going to get involved, and it was going to be like World War II, where
Yeah.
special service is going to be a very big thing
Right.
for entertainment and stuff, you know. So I ended up actually in down in Orlando, where Disney World is. At that time, they had an air base there with all 52 bombers, the big bombers
Mm-hmm.
that they used to bomb over in Vietnam, or not Vietnam, I guess Korea.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they use them for Vietnam too, I guess. But so I got down there the last 6 months, and of course the director was the bass horn player for Colonel Howard for 12 years. But he always wanted his own band, so when one of the big things was I got flown out to Chanute Air Force Base, and my musicologist boss
Mm-hmm.
was flown out there too, and he was making a lecture, and of course I was playing the different styles, Earl Garner and all these kind of things, you know,
Yeah.
as he was talking, you know, and George Shearing, and here sit these 90 band leaders.
Wow.
From all over. I guess they knew the war was going to close off, and
Mhm.
you know, we don't have Air Force bases like that anymore.
Mhm.
My gosh, they were everywhere. So I should have been nervous, but I just stared at the piano, you know, didn't look at them, and I
Yeah.
played for all those Air Force band directors.
Wow.
So when I got back, I got a commendation from the big general, I forget his name at that time, of the whole Air Force from Washington, D.C. And I got this commendation, and of course the Army captain never did care too much for anybody that was in that
Mhm.
special service.
Right.
And I got called in, and he says, "Now," he says, "Sergeant Saul," he says, "I don't know what you did, but he says, I have to salute you." And I looked at him, and he gave me these papers, you know.
Yeah.
And I have to tell the story. The first time I went through the barracks, I was one of the first ones to get the new blue uniform.
Yeah.
And of course, you didn't wear brass anymore. It was sort of white,
Mhm.
tarnished, looked like it's tarnished,
Mm-hmm.
but you didn't shine it. And so, first morning I was standing with all these Army guys, and he came up to me and he says, said, I didn't have any stripes or anything because I was lost. My clothing was even up in Maine. It took me months. I wore lots of times Army overcoats and anything I could get to wear because all I had was my suit.
Sure.
When I went back. Anyway, he looked at me and he says, Private, he says, when have you shined your brass lately? I said, sir, I said, we in the Air Force don't shine our brass. Oh. And turned his head, walked the other way, and I don't think he ever liked me after that. But anyway, that's so much for the Army experience. And then, I went down there, and of course, he was looking for a trombone player. He only had one trombone, and of course, they had me. I still must have been on the records that I could play piano and trombone.
Wow.
So I got down there, and he came into me, this band director, you know, can imagine playing with Colonel Howard in Washington all these years and wanted to hear me play the trombone. I hadn't had that trombone open for 2.5 years.
Wow.
But I always kept it with me.
Mm-hmm.
So what did he do? He got out 3 sharps again. And my gosh, by that time, after not playing the trombone, I couldn't even burp.
Mm-hmm.
And he went into the office, and I never heard such swearing and going on. He had his first sergeant in there, and I won't say what he said, but he says, how could Colonel Howard send me something like this?
Mm-hmm.
But then I heard the sergeant say, yes, but he's a piano player. Well, the sergeant needed a piano player for his band.
Yeah.
His dance band. And I heard, then the band director said, oh, okay, well, let's hear him play the piano. Mm-hmm. So then I went out and I played, you know. Mm-hmm. Well, then everything was all right. They treated me very nice from then on. And of course, I was playing every weekend making money with the Air Force Dance Band. But he said, you sit. He said, you sit with this trombone player over here. He only had corporal stripes, but he'd been in for 10 years.
Wow.
You know. And the trumpet player, he played with Glenn Miller. I was in this band.
Amazing.
But he said, "No, I want you to sit with him, and you watch him, and he'll teach you." So, for 6 months, I played the trombone, and finally, at the end of, I got out early. I didn't have to stay in another year, and finally, I used to march down the street playing the Star and Stripes Forever, and I go. I don't know, I was hitting all the right notes, but I did put on a good show anyway. So that's my Army career. My son always, like that movie, what did you do in the service, Daddy?
Right.
He'd tell, you know. So, but anyway, it did keep me in music. Then when I got out, I was disgusted with music because I was with I saw a lot of drugs when I was in Indianapolis. Met my wife. I go to these black clubs and things. Every time you go to the restroom, you'd be approached with something. But my being brought up by a good mother, I had gotten around. I've been in a lot of booze joints, but I knew when to say no, and I knew it was something you shouldn't do because I didn't get around much to big time, but when I was in a drugstore, just for me, they would always bring me downbeat. And I would read that religiously, and I kept all of them. But I remember Gene Krupa, you know, how he got in trouble.
Right.
And of course, lots of others, you know. And that's one thing I have to give Dick Hyman credit. He played with all the big timers in New York, and but he never allowed him to get in trouble. Allowed himself to get into trouble. So, and then I was with a lot of alcoholics, and I just decided I was coming back, and I was going to be a paper hanger.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to have anything to do with music. I had enough of it. In fact, I was offered $100 at a club in Florida at that time to play if I would stay there.
Yeah.
But I didn't think that was a good idea, and I came back, and I knew if I could be a paper hanger like my dad, I could still make good money.
Right.
But it so happened that when I got discharged September 11th, and of course, Chemtone came out, which everybody was painting all their walls pink, blue, green, yellow.
Right.
I mean, oh God,
Yeah.
they were terrible looking colors,
Yep.
but everybody was painting everything, painting over the wallpaper.
Yep.
And after you paint it over so many times, it got so thick, you know, and then how do you get the stuff off? Oh, it's terrible to get off,
Yeah.
because the only way you could take wallpaper over is have steamers, you know.
Mhm.
We had, and that was hot work.
Yeah.
But the steam wouldn't go through that paint, you know.
Right.
But that finished wallpaper hanging and never was the same anymore. And then, of course, now wallpaper is so expensive, most people paint. And if you do get something that's nice, I still like prints and wallpaper, but I mean, I have things in my house that I put on 25 years ago, and Lord, it looks as good as when I put it on.
Yep.
But when my dad, he used to paper 4 or 5 rooms sometimes a day. Well, yeah, he could make $30, $40 a day if he really killed himself working, which he did, hanging by the piece. But now, you know, if you want to take your time, you can hang your own paper. Hang 1 sheet a day, because that's about all they do.
Yeah.
And if you want to really get something a day, it costs, my Lord, a couple, well, you could get up to almost $1,000 for a nice sized room.
That's right.
And my dad, I have his old book. In 27, he papered a room would cost $2.60.
Wow.
That was paper, labor, his paste,
amazing.
and to get there. And he papered a whole house, my mother said, for $20. A whole house. I don't know how many rooms that was. And she said even her father said, John, I think you're working a little too cheap. But that's what it was. Well, anyway, I got out. My dad told me in about 3 months, he says, I can't afford to pay you, because he says, I have 3 girls in school.
Yeah.
And he says, business is just off all you.
Right.
He used to be booked 3 months ahead.
Yeah.
And it was really something to try to get him. And he said, I got you a job. I said, well, what did you get me? He said, well, I got you a job back at Neve Krause. I said, what am I going to do? He said, well, you're going to paint. You're going to be a painter. I hated painting like a passion, because every summer I used to try to paint the chicken house.
Yeah.
And I never did get it finished when I was a kid. Well, I said, okay. So I went back on January the 2nd. And at that time, $1 an hour is what you got. And I had to buy my paintbrushes the first thing. I thought, I got to buy my paintbrushes. I thought, well, they'd give me the brushes to paint with. Well, after they added all that up, I thought, oh, gee, there goes my first day pay, you know. Or maybe half the week.
Yeah.
And so we went, and then I soon found out the reality of life. I had to be back there. I had to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and be there for at least 6:30, because that's when they leave. If we worked in Gettysburg, you left at 6:30, and then when you got there, your time started.
Right.
And you worked at 12, and at this time it was freezing. And we were working in this home that they were, an old farmhouse, which they were doing over. And so I got there at 7 o'clock, and well, I said 7 to 12, and then they threw a little thing, papers and a little wood, anything they could find in the furnace. So now it's time to eat. So we ate, got our food, you know. And 12:30, time to go back to work, the boss says. So then we worked to 5 o'clock, and then you put your paintbrushes away. You didn't put them away before.
Right.
So till I got home, they got loaded up and everything. Till I got home, it was 5:45.
Wow.
Well, luckily, they could let me out at the square because I just lived across an apartment. But I got to thinking, I thought, holy smokes. I thought, I'm coming home at 5:45, and I got to get up and the next morning at 6 o'clock again, at least. And I thought, my wife's from Indianapolis, and gee, I saw two speedway races out there, and of course, the second one we met on the infield.
Wow.
And I thought, down out there, I was driving 45, 50 miles right down to the circle. People were driving. And I thought, here in Lordstown, we're going 20, 25 miles an hour. And I thought, now what's this pretty girl? She's not going to stay with me very long in a mess like this.
Yeah.
Because out in Indianapolis, they were paying $100 a week for certain jobs already. So someone said, a friend said, why don't you go to Western Maryland at that time and apply down there? Because I knew I couldn't get up to Indiana, not with a child coming. And so I didn't even think about it. In fact, I didn't have a piano. I didn't play a piano for a month. So so I thought, well, there's no way they're going to take my credits from Shippensburg, not a big time school like this. I went down, of course, Maud Gessner, who was the head of the department. They looked all things over and did along, and of course they accepted my credits. So I had 1 year in. The only trouble is I started in February, which was very difficult because I had missed the first semester of harmony and stuff, and these kids were doing things that I didn't understand. So it always had me, I never knew what they were doing. And so it was difficult. But that's how I got started, and then I made marks. I had a little rough time getting started. Professor DeLong had called me in, and he said, now, Herb, he said, I don't want to worry you, but he said, I just wanted you to know, he says, you have an F in American poetry and an F in religion. And he said, now, don't worry about that. He said, this is only mid-semester, you know, but once you got Fs, that's pretty hard to get above anything.
You bet. But
I did, and I ended up with a C in religion, and I had a D in American poetry, and it's the only D I ever got in my whole career.
Wow.
From there, things went up. And, but anyway, my schedule was I would go home, and I'd get home about 10 or 12, and my wife would have a little something to eat, and I would eat in about 10 minutes, and then I would get in my paint clothes, change clothes quick, and then sometimes my job would be over in East Berlin, which was a good 35 minutes away. I get there, and then I'd work from 1 to 4, $4. I had to drive the whole way home again. So I did that all through my college career.